Hello people, I am the Comic Book Gamer, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the most vulnerable Superman stories, which was suggested to me a little bit ago by Caden Grayson on my Superman Frequently Asked Questions video. So anyways, yeah, I thought this would be a cool idea for a video because he suggested it. I was like, you know what, that actually would be a pretty cool video, so here it is. I know it's been a little while since he suggested that, but yeah, decided to do it now. So I'm going to be covering 3 different stories. There are a bunch of different vulnerable Superman stories, but decided to choose 3 of my favorites and a different writer for each one instead of just being like, hey, here's all Jeff Johns ones or anything or something like that. So anyways, let's get into it, starting off with Superman Legends from the Dark Side, which is written by John Byrne. Now, this takes place in Volume 2 of Superman the Man of Steel. It's not the entire volume, but it is a few issues at the end. So anyways, this issue opens up with, well, not this issue, but the story opens up with Clark Kent in Metropolis running in a panic, and you see these lasers chasing him. He's running, he's like, people get out of the way. He's running, he runs all around, and then this one person's about to get hit by it, and he goes and he saves them, but he ends up getting hit by the lasers. Turns out it's the Omega beams. They transport him to Apokolips, and there is Darkseid, and he's like, who is this human filth? You know, I was expecting Superman, not this guy Phantom Stranger's right there. And Darkseid's like, Phantom Stranger, do you have something to do with this? Phantom Stranger says, nah, you know, I'm supposed to be neutral, I'm not supposed to mess with anything, I'm just here to observe. So he just throws Superman down to the just lowly people. And when Superman's there, he just, like, all the people start tackling him and like, give me your stuff, but Superman just ends up knocking them all away and brushing them off. He goes around the place sort of in disguise, and he just looks around, and he sees this big monster attacking people for Darkseid, and Superman starts fighting the monster. The monster tackles Superman into one of the fire pits of Apokolips. Superman just, you know, gets completely knocked out inside of there because those things are very hot and powerful, and Superman just could not stay awake. And yeah, they just had the power to knock out Superman inside there. So Superman is knocked down there. A scavenger who's just scavenging for stuff of value that's been in the fire pits, he ends up dishing Superman out of there. He gets Superman out of there, and we see that Superman is now vulnerable because to wake him up, he hits his hand with a flame, and Superman gets burned, and Superman has amnesia as well. We see that there's this group of just a bunch of really lowly people called Hunger Dogs, and at least that's what they're called on Apokolips. That's what these poor people are called. They're called the Hunger Dogs. But anyways, this chick called Amazing Grace comes out of nowhere, and she's like, hey, Superman, this guy's our savior. Can't you people see that? Because they're like, he's a bad man. And Amazing Grace says, no, he's our savior. And then a bunch of parademons come. Superman takes them out. He's got a very low power level. Like, he can't even fly or anything, but he manages to take out that group of parademons, and everyone's like, oh, he is our savior. Oh my gosh, he's our savior. So through this, we see that Superman's being manipulated by Amazing Grace. She's telling him all these things to do, and he becomes their warrior. He takes down a ton of parademons. Then one day they have a big victory, take out a bunch of Darkseid's forces. All the Hunger Dogs are gathered together to celebrate in this area, in this sort of enclosed area ish, and Superman and Amazing Grace are up on this balcony just like giving a speech like, yeah, we won today. And then a ton of parademons come and kill all those Hunger Dogs, and then Amazing Grace is like, you did great, Superman. And he's like, I'd rather hear it from the person I'm really working for. And Darkseid comes out of the shadows and said, you did amazing, you did your whole job. The whole point of this was for Superman to lead these people so close to hope, so close, and then get destroyed so they realize there is no hope. It's done, it's gone once and for all. That was Darkseid's whole plan. And yeah, then we see that Granny Goodness is working on Superman, trying to get his powers restored because, you know, he's still not at full power. He's very low on power. And then Darkseid's just like, listen, you work for me and all this stuff. You're my son. And he basically convinces him that his power is coming from Darkseid and the fact that he is Darkseid's son. And so Superman's like, hey, I got my powers back now. I can fly because, you know, for Darkseid and all that. And so we see that Light Ray and Orion are flying to Apokolips because they were told that there's bad things going on Apokolips. So they fly there. They see Superman's there. Orion starts fighting Superman, and then Superman proclaims that he is Darkseid's son. Orion's like, what? I'm Darkseid's son. You're not Darkseid's son. So he takes his mask off, and we see his hideous face, and he looks a lot like Darkseid. And Superman's all confused, like, what? He's Darkseid's son? So then, and when he's just down, Orion uses the mother box to restore Superman's mind and take all the broken pieces from the amnesia and everything and put it back together. Superman's back to being Superman, and he's really pissed at Darkseid. So he goes after Darkseid, and Superman is able to trick Darkseid into hitting himself with his Omega Beams, because Darkseid sends his Omega Beams after him. Superman just flies around, gets him to hit Darkseid. They fight for a bit. It's pretty cool, and then Superman beats him. But when he's about to finish it. Actually, I'll read you the exact lines because I think it's pretty cool dialogue, because Darkseid's given this whole thing about how painful his Omega Beams are, because Darkseid's hitting him with his Omega Beams right now. They're not at full power, by the way, because Darkseid hit himself with the full power of Omega Beams, but they're still really powerful. And Darkseid saying, anguish that will make you beg, plead for the sweet release of death. Then Superman just says, Darkseid, you talk too much. Backhands him and says, sure, you hurt me, Darkseid. You put me through a gauntlet like I've never known, but don't preach to me about pain. Compared to an exposure to kryptonite, anything you can throw at me is a walk in the park. Now let's finish this once and for all. And then Darkseid said, yeah, this is finished. He opens up a Stargate, a boom tube, and then Superman flies into the boom tube going after Darkseid, but he misses Darkseid and goes into the boom tube, and he goes home, it turns out, because Orion's like, where'd you send him? And Darkseid says, home. He beat me fairly, and though Darkseid may never scheme, he never cheats. Superman has won a safe trip back to Earth. So we see that Darkseid at least fights fair, and so yeah, I really like that storyline. I thought it was pretty cool. It leaves Superman very vulnerable for the fact that he was controlled, he was manipulated, he was somewhat responsible for the death of a ton of people, and he was very vulnerable throughout that story, and I love it. And this is the one I'm going to be going the most in depth with, because I just realized I'm 6 minutes in, but the others I'll go into as well, and we got 2 more storylines to cover. So yeah, next one is The Death of Superman, which is written by Dan Jurgens. The Death of Superman is probably the most popular Superman storyline, and for good reason. It's not my favorite, but it is really good, and it's basically Doomsday going around Metropolis, just destroying everything in sight, and no one can stop him but Superman. And so we see all these different things going on around Superman, especially the fact that there's this one family that almost gets killed, and Superman, while he's fighting Doomsday, has to find a way to put Doomsday where he won't be able to hurt anyone, so he can go and save those people. And so there's vulnerability there, and the fact that it's this guy that throughout the entire fight, Superman is pummeling him, sending him flying, and nothing's happening. This guy just gets back up and just walks it off like nothing happened. And this guy had already kicked the butt of the Justice League. Granted, it was a very stupid Justice League. Like, this was when they have B-Team Justice League. Like, the best guy on it was Guy Gardner. That shows you how great it was. But anyways, he beat up that Justice League, even though later on in the comics he beats up the actual Justice League. Like, Wonder Woman, and says she's going full strength and can't even make a move. But anyways, talking about Death of Superman. So in this book, Superman's just trying his hardest, and then at the end we see he gets really determined, and he starts beating the crap out of Doomsday because he figures out that his outside bones are just an extension of what's actually inside of him. So he breaks those bones, starts hurting Doomsday, starts fighting him. He gets really driven, he sees Lois and everything, and then he ends up giving one massive final punch, and so does Doomsday, and they kill each other. Even though later on it was revealed that Superman didn't really die, it was just put in this state that mirrored death. Is kind of stupid, but anyways, for all intents and purposes, they killed each other. And so we see at the end there, Superman is just, the last thing he wants to know is, he asked Lois if he did it, if he saved the people, if he killed Doomsday, and Lois said, yeah, he did. And then it's a very powerful image of Superman dead in Lois's arms, and it's amazing. It really is a big moment in comics, because Superman's dead and he's in his wife's arms, and I love that. And it was something that I'm going to go a bit off topic here, but I'm going to talk about Superman, the Death of Superman movie. That was an anime movie that was made that really missed the point, was the fact that Superman and Lois weren't married or anything, and they weren't that close. And so when he died in that movie, it was very badly done, it was poorly handled, to where in the comic it was great, because they had so much history together, they loved each other, and then he's just dead there. And so there's not really much more vulnerable than Superman being dead. So yeah, Death of Superman, great story that everyone should read. Next up is Superman and the Legion of Superheroes, which is written by Geoff Johns, and this is my favorite story out of all of the ones I've talked about today. So yes, this story opens up with Superman in Metropolis. It's a routine day in Metropolis, a Brainiac bot attack. Superman goes to stop it. Then we see this projection of Brainiac 5. Brainiac 5 is a member of the Legion of Superheroes. Legion of Superheroes is a superhero team from the future, like way in the future. And so Superman already knows them, because when he was younger, they had traveled to the past to come and get him, and he became a member of the Legion of Superheroes, and they brought him back to the past. But anyways, so yeah, he already knows them, but Brainiac 5 makes it urgent. He tells Superman, hey, we need you bad things are happening in the future. So teleports Superman there. Superman's there. He sees a bunch of people fighting. He tries to stop them, but he gets shot through the hand because it turns out Earth's sun is red. He doesn't have any powers. He's still able to fight though, because Superman is not useless without powers, but his powers are gone because of the red sun. So we see that there are all these guys that are just beating the crap out of a bunch of people, and they're this evil regime, and Superman asks about them. It turns out they're basically space Nazis, and they're led by this guy called Earthman. What Earthman did was he went and a while ago, he went and supposedly found a crystal tablet that documented Superman's true past, that Superman was actually from Earth, and he hated aliens and did everything he could to stop aliens from invading Earth, and that they're all evil. And so this guy used this forged crystal tablet that he made to use Superman as a symbol to basically be a space Nazi, to be xenophobic, and just be like, hey, aliens are bad, only Earth people are good. If you're not human, you're evil. Basically what Hitler did with the Jews, that's what this guy did with aliens. And so he used Superman, this big symbol that people love, because Superman is loved in the future. He's viewed as the greatest hero of all time. And so when you use him like that and turn out, hey, he wasn't actually from Krypton, that was like alien propaganda, Legion of Superheroes are evil, that's not true at all. They use him to go and fight, against these aliens and wipe out aliens, to commit mass genocide in the name of Superman. And to me, this is where the true vulnerability of Superman comes into play in the storyline. Not the fact that he doesn't have powers, that's part of it, but that's not the big element. The fact that these people this guy is using Superman's name to commit mass genocide. That is something Superman cannot stop from happening, because he was in the present, and that leaves him very vulnerable to where just someone is using his name, because he is not existing in this future. This is way in the future. Superman's gone. So it's just like, there's nothing Superman can do to stop this. He's very vulnerable to people using his name. He didn't even know this was happening until now. So yeah, I feel that's very vulnerable for Superman. But anyways, we see that Superman in the end goes and he has a battle with Earthboy. They're up in like this sort of space headquarters of Earthboy's bad legion. They're fighting. Superman's getting his butt kicked, but he's able to drive Earthboy out of the spaceship. And Earthboy takes Superman, flies him down to Earth. I mean Earthman, not Earthboy. I don't know why I keep calling him Earthboy. Anyways, he flies him down there. Also, Earthman's powers are to take everyone else's powers. That's what he can do. So he has all the Legion of Superheroes powers at this time. And so he's fighting Superman. Superman's getting his butt kicked, but while they're fighting on Earth, back up in the spaceship to where Earthman had a bunch of prisoners, including Sunboy, Sunboy's able to turn the sun back to yellow. So when Superman's fighting Earthman, he's getting his butt kicked, he gets his powers back, starts getting back to where he's able to not beat yet, but he's fighting Earthman, actually putting up a pretty good fight now. But Earthman lashes out like, I got way more powers than you. And but Superman's like, hey, I got the legit Legion of Superheroes, not just your knockoff powers. But Earthman proceeds to beat the living crap out of the Legion of Superheroes, takes them all down, and Superman's the only one left standing. And then we get some great dialogue that I love. This is where Earthman says, I need this more than you, Superman. You were never rejected. You were never an outsider. And Superman just says back to him, don't talk like you know me. You don't. I've been an outsider every day of my life, and knocks him out with one punch. It was great. It really lends a good and a good eye into Superman's life, into like what we see, how he was when he was younger and everything, and the fact that when he was younger he really felt like a huge outsider. There was no one like Superman. There was no one for him to pal around with. These were before the big superhero days. Superman was alone, but then the Legion of Superheroes came around and they were friends to Superman. There were people just like him. He got to have friends that he could fully expose himself to and be like, I got these powers. They could celebrate his powers basically, and actually enjoy Superman instead of having to hide who he is. And so they made him not feel like an outsider, and that's what this was great for showing. There's even a part where Superman says, I'm for everybody, because this guy's like, that's not the real Superman. Superman wouldn't fight for aliens. And Superman looks at the guy and says, I'm for everyone. You should know that, officer. But anyways, it's great. It really shows how Superman is as a character, that he is for everyone. And that he was such an outsider that a lot of people don't think of. They think, oh, Superman's this good-looking guy that also has every power in the book. Everything comes easy for him. No, he's an outsider. Went through a lot of tough times. And you have the fact that people like Earthman, he used Superman's name to murder a ton of people, and so Superman feels semi-responsible for that, and that's not a good thing. So yeah, this story left Superman very vulnerable. It also got us more into the character of Superman, and this is just one of the many reasons I love Geoff Johns. He's a great Superman writer. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely go and check out all these stories because I did not go completely in depth with all of them. I skipped a lot of stuff, so you guys should definitely go read them. Anyways, I'll go over them again for what you guys would need to pick up, because the first Darkseid storyline is, as far as I know, you can't get it in like a graphic novel just itself, but in Superman the Man of Steel Volume 2, it's in that. There are a bunch of other issues in there as well, but it also has that storyline. And then there's Superman Legion of Superheroes, which is the one that I'd highly recommend if you pick up anyone out of all of these. Definitely pick up Superman Legion of Superheroes. It's my favorite. And Death of Superman, which is everywhere. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please let me know with a comment and a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.